The Pool Atlas, where the miles game works, the complete strategic analysis. This is an independent analysis of where in the world HeyMax's game can be played. A country-by-country screen of interchange fees, commission margins, and mile economics, built to answer one commissioned question. In which markets can the miles-versus-cashback game actually work? Researched in August 2026 from primary sources, central bank regulations, card network fee schedules, regulator conclusions papers, plus the 9 national pools this series has already priced, volume by volume. Nobody paid for it. Nobody previewed it. Nothing in it is financial advice. It is the 16th volume in this series and its natural capstone. 15 books have priced individual markets: Singapore's healthy pool, Korea's legislated wasteland, Japan's opaque riches, America's besieged ocean, Canada's negotiated decline, Brazil's technology earthquake. Each volume derived for its own market the same underlying law. Rewards economies are creatures of their funding pools, and the pools are set by regulation, technology, and margin structure. This volume assembles the law into an atlas, every major pool on one map, screened through the 3 variables that decide whether a transferable miles platform can live there. And it arrives at a moment that makes the mapping urgent. Because the map is changing faster right now than at any point since Europe's Great Cap of 2015. 3 findings preview the shape. First, the playable world is shrinking on a published schedule. In the 18 months surrounding this research, New Zealand capped credit interchange at 0.3%. Canada's negotiated reductions took force. And the finding that revises one of this series' own verdicts, Australia's Reserve Bank concluded its payments review with a 0.3% credit cap and a surcharging ban, effective the 1st of July, 2026. Weeks from this volume's research date, the Anglosphere has converged on Europe's number. Uncapped interchange is now an Asian, Gulf, and American phenomenon, and America's pool is under legislative siege. Second, the miles game and the interchange pool are related, but not identical, and the distinction is this volume's analytical engine. HeyMax's mile is funded from merchant commissions, not card tolls, which makes its model unusually cap-resilient. But the demographic that values miles is built by interchange-funded card cultures. Where the pool dies, the audience thins on a lag. Third, the screen's positive results cluster tightly. When every variable is applied, pool, margin, spread, corridor, the playable frontier is not a scatter but a belt. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, with the Gulf beside it and India as the great complication. And remarkably, HeyMax already holds airline treaties in 4 of those 5 markets. And an open sign-up gate in one of them that it has never activated. Same ground rules as every volume. Sources for claims, the regulatory numbers come from the regulator's own documents, estimates labeled, absences treated as data. 16 chapters. The physics, the regimes, the atlas by region, the technology overlay, the margins, the spread. Then the screen, the shortlists, the playbook, and a verdict with falsifiers. Let's begin. Chapter 1, the physics of the game. Before the atlas, the law it maps. Why does the miles-versus-cashback game work in Singapore and fail in Seoul? 15 volumes of this series compress into one equation with 3 variables. Stating it precisely is what makes the country screen possible. The equation: a miles platform lives where the perceived value of a mile exceeds its funding cost, sustainably, for a population large enough to matter. Unpack the 3 variables. Variable 1, the pool. Somebody must fund rewards, and the world funds them overwhelmingly from interchange, the merchant toll on card transactions, running from 0.2% in regulated Europe to beyond 2% in the uncapped markets. The pool's size sets everything downstream. Whether banks can pay for miles purchases from airlines, the co-brand economy. Whether card earn rates make optimization worthwhile, the miles-literate demographic. And whether issuer acquisition budgets fund the bounty economy that platforms harvest. Korea proved the null case. Legislate the pool down to a fraction of a percent, and the entire rewards ecology dies. No co-brands worth holding. No optimizer class, no game. America proves the maximal case. $100 billion toll sustains the world's richest rewards culture and prices everything, including its miles, beyond outsiders' reach. Variable 2, the margin. HeyMax's own mile is not interchange funded. It is commission funded, minted from affiliate margins, 10 to 25% on travel bookings, 1 to 8% on e-commerce, card and insurance bounties on the side. This is the model's quiet superpower and this volume's recurring nuance. A merchant-funded currency can operate in a capped market where card-funded rewards cannot. The funding source is orthogonal to interchange regulation. The margin variable asks simply, do the commission pools exist at fundable depth? The answer, this series has found, is yes almost everywhere for travel, the invariant seam, and highly variable for domestic e-commerce. Variable 3, the spread. A mile must be worth more to the member than it costs the platform. The perceived value premium that makes 1.35 US cents of funding feel like 2 cents of travel. The spread is cultural before it is financial. It requires an aviation aspiration culture, premium carriers people dream of flying, outbound travel people save for. A points literacy that prices miles above cash, and the Brazil volumes lesson, the absence of a cash bid that collapses miles into currency. Where the spread inverts, cashback wins mechanically. Korea's one-pegged psyche, Brazil's resale market, China's closed loops. Where it holds, Singapore, Japan, the Southeast Asian corridor cultures, a commission-funded mile beats commission-funded cash on the same margin. Which is the entire theoretical basis of HeyMax versus Shopback. Now the interaction that makes the atlas non-obvious. The pool builds the audience for the spread. Interchange-rich markets grow card cultures. Card cultures grow miles literacy. Miles literacy sustains the perceived value premium. Cap the pool and the platform's funding survives. Commissions don't care, but the audience decays on a lag. Card earn dies. The optimizer class stops forming. The next generation never learns that miles beat cash, and the spread erodes, generationally. Europe is the completed experiment. A decade after the 2015 caps, the mass-market miles game is dead outside the Amex and annual fee niche. Not because platforms couldn't fund miles, because the culture that valued them stopped reproducing. This is why the screen weighs pools heavily, even for a commission-funded entrant. The pool is not HeyMax's revenue. The pool is HeyMax's demographic incubator. And one corollary the screen must carry. The fourth variable this series always applies, the corridor remains sovereign. A perfect pool with no route to HeyMax's members fails the Brazil test before the atlas even opens. The screen therefore runs pool, margin, spread, then corridor as the gate. The law stated the map can be drawn. It begins with the regulators, because they drew most of it. Chapter 2, the 4 regimes and the convergence wave. Every interchange pool on Earth lives under one of 4 regimes. Classifying them first makes the country chapters fast. The taxonomy, with its members, and its direction of travel. Because the direction is this chapter's real finding. Regime 1, the hard cap. A statute or regulator fixes interchange at a number designed to kill it as a profit center. The European Union wrote the template in 2015, 0.3% credit, 0.2% debit, and the club has grown steadily. The United Kingdom retained the caps after Brexit. New Zealand, 0.3% on in-person credit from December 2025, and foreign-issued cards capped from May 2026, a world first. And now Australia. 0.3% credit, 6-cent debit, surcharging band, effective the 1st of July, 2026, by the Reserve Bank's concluded review. China belongs here functionally, with state-set rates around 0.5%, as does Korea's legislated schedule, recut on a political cycle. Inside the club, 4-party card rewards die. What survives is the Amex loophole. 3-party schemes are exempt in most cap regimes and annual fee-funded co-brands. The niche configuration the next chapter details. Regime 2, the negotiated squeeze. No statute. The state extracts voluntary reductions by threat. Canada is the type specimen, averages ratcheted down to 0.95% for most merchants by the October 2024 agreements, and the Canada volume documented why this path, once begun, only descends. Japan sits at this regime's front porch. Uncapped and opaque today, with the Trade Ministry running the transparency campaign that historically precedes the squeeze. Regime 3, the technology override. The pool is legally free, but practically drained by state-built instant payments. Brazil is the completed case. Pix made the card toll optional, and the caps that existed became footnotes. India runs the largest instance. UPI's zero-fee rails carry the country's transactional life, while the card pool persists alongside, producing the split regime Chapter 4 examines. And the override's watch list is the strategic point. Prompt Pay in Thailand, QRIS in Indonesia, Viet QR in Vietnam, PayNow in Singapore, the faster payment system in Hong Kong. All earlier points on the same curve, uncapped pools with clocks attached. Regime 4, the open pool. No cap, no squeeze, no override at scale. Interchange set by network competition running 1.5 to 2.5+%. The members after the convergence wave, the United States besieged but intact. Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, the Gulf states, and India's card tier. Notice the geography. The open pool is now an Asian, Gulf, and American phenomenon. Europe closed a decade ago. The Anglosphere closed in the 18 months this research spans. That closure is the convergence wave, and it deserves its dates stated together because the pattern is unmistakable. October 2024, Canada's reductions take force. December 2025, New Zealand's cap. May 2026, New Zealand caps foreign cards. July 2026, Australia's cap and surcharge ban, moving roughly 1.2 billion Australian dollars a year from the pool. January 2026, the Credit Card Competition Act reintroduced in Washington with presidential sympathy. 4 Anglophone regulators, 1 European number, 18 months. This series standing doctrine, state attention to merchant fees never reverses, has now been confirmed on 3 continents, in real time. 2 consequences frame everything after. For the Atlas, the Playable World is a shrinking belt, and screens run today are perishable. This volume's top tier exists because its pools have not yet met their regulators or their QR clocks. Both are coming. For HeyMax, the convergence wave is the strongest argument yet for the series' recurring prescription, the commission-funded, partner-funded, wholesale revenue architecture that survives pool death. And for moving on the open pool belt while it is open. Because the map's history says windows in this industry close on 5 to 10-year schedules, and never reopen. The regimes defined, the Atlas proceeds region by region, beginning with the club that wrote the template. Chapter 3, the Great Caps, Europe and the Anglosphere. The capped world deserves one chapter of proper examination, because it is the completed experiment every open pool is drifting toward, and because what survives inside it is strategically instructive. Europe first, the decade-old template. The 2015 interchange fee regulation capped 4-party credit interchange at 0.3% and debit at 0.2%, down from pre-regulation levels of roughly 0.8 to 1.6%. The rewards consequences arrived on schedule. Industry analyses put the reduction in card rewards value at up to 80% within the transition years. The mass market miles card died. What lived is the instructive part. 3 forms. The Amex niche, 3-party schemes were exempted, making American Express the last interchange-rich rail in Europe. Which is why the serious European miles collector is, almost by definition, an Amex holder. And why Amex's European co-brands, British Airways above all, remain genuinely rewarding, while Visa and MasterCard equivalents pay pennies. The annual fee co-brand, where the toll cannot fund rewards, the member funds them. European airline cards survive as fee-funded products whose economics are subscription, not interchange. And the merchant-funded layer, cashback portals, airline shopping malls, coalition schemes, running on commission economics untouched by the caps. The structural proof that HeyMax's funding model crosses cap borders, even though the miles culture thins there. The United Kingdom retained the caps after Brexit and adds the cautionary sequel. Regulators there keep examining even the surviving cross-border and commercial rates. The direction remains down. Europe's lesson, compressed. Caps do not kill loyalty. They kill interchange-funded loyalty, reorganizing the game around Amex, fees, and merchant funding at perhaps a fifth of its former mass-market scale. Now the Anglosphere's 18-month convergence, market by market. New Zealand moved first and furthest. The Commerce Commission's final decision cut in-person credit interchange to 0.3% from December 2025, down from roughly 0.8%. Online at 0.7%. And, a world first, foreign-issued cards capped from May 2026, with commercial credit caps drafted a month later. The New Zealand rewards market, never large, is being formatted European. Australia is the consequential one, because this series has a live thesis there. The Reserve Bank's review concluded in March 2026. The credit cap falls from a 0.5% weighted average to a 0.3% hard cap. Debit drops to 6 cents. Merchant surcharging is banned. The package takes effect the 1st of July, 2026, moving an estimated 1.2 billion Australian dollars a year from issuers to merchants. For the Atlas, this reclassifies Australia from thin but open to European. For the series, it demands a formal revision, issued here. The Australia volume's verdict, re-entry conditional on a velocity anchor, now carries a second condition. Because the market that re-entry would serve is about to lose the interchange subsidy under its rewards culture. The honest read, Australian card rewards will compress over the next 2 years exactly as Europe's did. The miles-literate demographic will begin its generational thinning, and the velocity thesis, if it ever fires into a smaller game. The revision is not never. Chapter 14 examines the contrarian case that capped markets eventually favor merchant-funded currencies, but the timing calculus has hardened. This volume moves Australia formally to the closed tier, with a 12-month post-cap review bookmark. Canada completes the wave in its negotiated variant, 0.95% for most merchants since October 2024, documented in its own volume. And the wave synthesis closes the chapter. Within 18 months, every major Anglophone pool outside the United States adopted Europe's number or its direction. The regulatory technology is proven, portable, and politically cheap. The merchant lobbies are organized everywhere, and the remaining open pools should be read the way this series now reads all of them, as windows, with unpublished closing dates. The next chapters walk what is still open. Chapter 4, the Legislated East and India's split regime. Asia's regulated pools next. 2 of them this series has already buried. The third is the most interesting payments experiment on Earth. Korea and China, briefly, as the Atlas's eastern null zone. Korea's legislated schedule, recut on a 3-year political cycle, killed the card-funded rewards economy so completely that the Korea volume's verdict rested on it. No pool, no spread, no game, serve the corridor from outside. China's state-set rates matter less than its structure. The closed-loop wallet duopoly of Alipay and WeChat Pay owns transactional life. Card culture never generalized, and loyalty runs inside super app ecosystems that need no external currency. Both markets fail the screen at variable 1, classified and closed. India is the opposite of closed. India is the world's largest open question, running a payments regime with no precedent anywhere. The split pool. On one side, UPI. The state-built instant payment rail carries the overwhelming majority of transaction volume at 0 merchant discount rate. The purest technology override on Earth. Brazil's Pix at triple scale. On the other side, the credit card tier, running essentially uncapped. Merchant discount rates of 1.5% to 2.5%. Premium card interchange of 1.5% to 2%. Corporate cards higher still. An interchange-rich island in a zero-fee ocean. and the island is booming. Indian premium card issuance has grown explosively. The top bank's tiers run earn rates and lounge cultures any Singaporean optimizer would recognize. An enthusiast media ecosystem has industrialized. And the airlines programs are being rebuilt around the card economy. Then the twist that makes India the Atlas's watch priority. The two pools are connecting. From June 2026, RuPay credit cards riding UPI rails carry a merchant discount rate of roughly 1 to 2% on transactions above 2,000 rupees. Credit economics flowing onto the zero-fee acceptance network. Read the significance. India built the world's largest free payment rail. Watched it kill card acceptance economics at the small merchant tier, and is now routing interchange-bearing credit across the same rail, expanding the fundable pool onto acceptance infrastructure cards never reached. If Brazil's lesson was that technology drains the pool, India's emerging counter-lesson is that technology can also extend the pool. Which lesson wins the next 5 years is arguably the most important open question in world payments. Screen India against the 4 variables honestly. Pool, rich and growing at the premium tier. Pass, with the caveat that the mass market lives toll-free. Margin, India's affiliate economy is deep, and its bounty culture, the card acquisition payouts, the fintech referral wars, rivals Japan's. Pass. Spread, an aviation aspiration culture in full bloom. The fastest-growing outbound travel market on Earth. A points literacy exploding from a young base. Pass, emphatically, corridor, real and growing, Singapore-India traffic is dense, the diaspora bridges run through HeyMax's home market, and Air India's Maharaja Club already sits on HeyMax's shelf. Signed during the roster expansion, this series documented 4 passes. Why then does India land in the hold tier rather than tier 1? Scale complexity, honestly priced. India is not a market a 30-person company adds. It is a market that consumes companies. Licensing, the central bank's perimeter around payments, is strict and evolving. Localization across languages and payment behaviors. Competition from a fintech ecosystem, cred above all, the premium cardholder platform whose model overlaps HeyMax's wedge at 100 times the funding. The honest classification, India passes the screen and fails the capacity test. The highest potential deferral in the Atlas. With a named review trigger, when the RuPay UP credit experiment's trajectory is readable, 2 years of data, rerun this analysis as a full volume. India is not Brazil, and not Japan. It is the market the screen says yes to, and the payroll says not yet to. Exactly Japan's position 2 years ago, 1 size larger. The Legislated East mapped 2 nulls and a watch priority. The belt where the screen turns green is next. Chapter 5, the Uncapped Belt, Southeast Asia. The chapter the Commission was really asking for. Southeast Asia's pools walked with the Atlas's variables, because this is where the screen's green cluster lives, and where HeyMax's existing assets already reach. The regional baseline first. Outside Malaysia, no major Southeast Asian market caps consumer credit interchange. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines all run open pools, with merchant discount rates in the roughly 1.6 to 3.5% band. Commercial rates, labeled as estimates, because unregulated markets publish nothing. Over every pool hangs the same QR-shaped clock. State-adjacent instant payment schemes, PromptPay, QRIS, Viet QR, InstaPay, growing at Pix-like rates from the micropayment tier upward. The belt is open, funded, and on the technology conveyor with a 5 to 8 year lag behind Brazil. The window language this volume keeps using is not rhetorical. Thailand, the belt's flagship pool. Card culture mature at the urban affluent tier, the demographic that flies. Merchant rates estimated 1.6 to 2.5%. No cap and no active regulatory campaign, the central bank's attention has gone to PromptPay. The aviation aspiration culture is the region's deepest outside Singapore. Thai Airways post-restructuring loyalty rebuild, AirAsia's Thai operation, an enthusiast community whose content mirrors Singapore's 5 years ago. Chapter 12 runs the full shortlist treatment. Vietnam, the Belt's growth story. The card base is young, urban, and compounding fast from a low base, which reads as weakness until the bounty economics register. Greenfield card markets pay the richest issuer acquisition bounties because every bank is fighting for first wallet position. And the affiliate e-commerce economy runs commissions at the rich end of the regional band. No cap. Rates estimated 1.8 to 2.5%. The aviation culture is ascendant, and Vietnam Airlines Lotus Miles is already on HeyMax's shelf. Chapter 13 continues. Indonesia, the Belt's sleeping giant, and the series' strangest audit finding, restated. HeyMax's sign-up gate has included Indonesia's country code since inception. It is the one market on Earth a member can already join from, and the company has never activated it, never localized, never marketed. A gate open onto an unbuilt house. The pool, credit interchange uncapped, but the card base is narrow. Indonesia's transactional life runs on QRIS, the regulated QR scheme whose dominance at the mass tier is the Belt's most advanced QR conquest. The screen's honest read, Indonesia is two markets. A thin, rich card tier, the premium demographic that flies Garuda, already a HeyMax partner. And a vast QRIS mass market, where merchant-funded, payment moment earn is the only rewards model that can ever work. Chapter 13 prices the activation. The Philippines, screened in the series' third volume, Not Now, Beachhead and Preposition, and upgraded here on pool evidence. Interchange uncapped. Merchant rates estimated 2 to 3.5%. The Belt's richest tolls on its least penetrated card base. With Philippine Airlines Mabuhay Miles already a shelf partner, and the diaspora corridor economics that volume mapped, the verdict stands. The pool data sharpens its preposition now clause. And Malaysia, the Belt's exception, classified where the data puts it. Bank Negara's payment card reform framework capped credit interchange at 1.1% back in 2015 and ratcheted it to 0.6%. Anglosphere tier regulation, a decade early. Malaysia runs the region's most advanced cap alongside one of its strongest travel cultures, AirAsia's home, the Enrich base, the European configuration in miniature. A miles culture surviving on fee-funded co-brands and merchant-funded schemes atop a thin toll. For HeyMax, the commission-funded model works there. The demographic exists, but the pool incubator is off. A conditional market, behind the open pool trio, revisited if the corridor economics ever justify a low-cost extension. The Belt mapped 3 green lights, 1 standing verdict, upgraded, 1 cap exception. The rich north and the Gulf complete the open pool world before the screen assembles. Chapter 6, The Rich North, the Home Pools. The pools this series knows best, compressed into their Atlas entries. Because Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan are HeyMax's operating and target geography, and the Atlas's job here is not discovery, but positioning. Where do the home pools sit on the map, and what does the global view add to 4 completed volumes? Singapore, the founding pool. Uncapped, the monetary authority has confirmed merchant fees are commercial arrangements, not regulated, with interchange on rewards cards in the 1.5 to 2% band, funding the 4 miles per dollar culture that made HeyMax possible. The Atlas adds perspective. Singapore is now one of the last rich, small, advanced economy pools on Earth. Every comparable jurisdiction, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the whole of Europe, has capped or squeezed, which makes Singapore both a treasure and an anomaly. The pay now clock runs, merchant QR acceptance grows. And the Canada volume's negotiated squeeze template is precisely the shape a future Singapore intervention would take. Consensual, gradual, politically cheap. The standing prescription, partner-funded and wholesale revenue before the weather arrives, is now backed by the full Atlas's evidence. Hong Kong, the second pool. Structurally Singapore's twin, uncapped, premium card dense, interchange around 2%, with the faster payment system's clock running slower than PayNow's, and a card culture anchored on Asia miles. The Atlas's addition. Hong Kong's pool is the funding substrate for the entire virtual bank opportunity the partnership's volume mapped. 7 currency-less banks. Sitting on rich interchange, they cannot convert into aspirational rewards without a partner. The pool's persistence is what keeps that frontier open. Japan, the great opaque pool. Uncapped, undisclosed, merchant fees around 3%. The richest toll in Asia, funding the co-brand and point site economy, the Japan volume mapped at book length. Atlas positioning. Japan is the negotiated squeeze's next likely member. The Trade Ministry's transparency campaign is that regime's first act on a multi-year fuse, with the Japan volume's kill criteria already armed on exactly that trend. One confirmation the Atlas adds: Japan's pool wealth explains why its miles culture is the world's deepest. And its regulatory fuse explains why the JAL Treaty's value has a horizon worth husbanding. Taiwan, the fourth home-adjacent pool. No statutory cap. Merchant rates estimated 1.5% to 2.5%. A rich card rewards culture, the cashback and miles card wars the Taiwan volume documented, and the corridor first thesis that volume set. The Atlas confirms the pool supports the eventual entry the series planned. With the mildest QR clock in the region. The synthesis the 4 entries produce, stated once because it reframes HeyMax's whole map. The home cluster is the global exception. On the completed Atlas, rich and open pools with deep miles cultures and dense mutual corridors describe exactly 4.5 places on Earth: Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, and the urban tier of the Uncapped Belt. HeyMax happens to sit at their center, holding treaties across all of them. This series has occasionally treated HeyMax's geography as a constraint, only 2 live markets. The Atlas inverts the reading. HeyMax operates in the best rewards geography remaining on the planet, the one region where all 3 variables still align. Nearly everything on the map beyond it is capped, squeezed, overridden, besieged, or orthogonal. The moat was the map all along. One pool remains before the screen. The western edge of the open world, where the tolls are rich, the cash is dying, and the corridor is already partially signed. Chapter 7, The Gulf Pool. The open world's western edge. The Atlas's briefest regional chapter, because a prior volume carries most of its weight, the UAE volume's partnership-first verdict, while the pool data sharpens 2 points. The pool facts. The Gulf caps nothing on the credit side. The UAE's Interchange runs uncapped and network published. Visa's UAE schedule tiers rates by card class and merchant category in the classic open pool pattern. And the market's card economics show it. Cashback and miles cards tiered to interchange-rich categories. Premium products dense. And the consumer shift measurable. Cash fell from roughly a quarter of everyday purchases to about 16% in a single year, with cards, not QR schemes, taking the share. Saudi Arabia splits by rail. The MATA debit scheme runs low domestic rates. Credit interchange remains uncapped, and the premium card war is visibly escalating. Uncapped cashback products, zero FX propositions, the fee and perk escalation of a market whose affluent tier is growing and whose tourism strategy needs travelers rewarded. Qatar completes the triangle with its own uncapped, premium-skewed pool. Screen the region. Pool, pass. Rich, open, and unique on the Atlas with cash-to-card migration still running. The pool is growing rather than defending, the only region on the map where that is true. Margin, pass. The travel vertical's commissions are regionally invariant, and Gulf e-commerce's affiliate economy is maturing fast. Spread, pass with an asterisk. The Gulf's aviation culture is supreme. Emirates and Qatar are the aspiration itself. But the resident population's miles game is bank-dominated. Every major bank runs Skywards or Avio's co-brands, and the 2 great carriers' currencies price at the premium tier this series' funding ceiling cannot reach at par. The cash for miles autopsy's Gulf casualties, Emirates, Etihad, remain priced out. Corridor, the strong pass. The Gulf hubs are the corridor between HeyMax's markets and half the planet. Qatar Privilege Club already sits on the treaty shelf precisely because Doha connects everything. The 2 sharpen points. First, the UAE volume's partnership-first verdict gains pool data support. The market's rewards economics are rich enough that entry would face Japan-tier incumbency, every bank armed with skywards, while the partnership surface remains the leverage point. The Atlas adds a name to that surface. The Gulf Super App and FinTech tier, the Kareem-class everything apps, the region's neobanks, runs loyalty programs with the same travel currency deficits the partnership's volume monetizes in Asia. The corridor's density makes a Gulf lattice deal, a points bridge, a neobank yield-to-miles product, the realistic first Gulf move. Partner-funded, entry-free. Exactly the grammar. Second, Saudi Arabia enters the series watch file on its own line, distinct from the UAE. The kingdom's tourism build-out, a national strategy needing inbound travelers and reward-armed residents. Its uncapped and escalating card war. And its scale, the Gulf's largest population. Together, they make Saudi the one Gulf market where a future entry question might someday clear the screen rather than defaulting to partnership. On a horizon past the current planning cycle, noted for the record, filed behind the Uncapped Belt. The Gulf positioned, an open, growing pool serving the world's most aspirational aviation brands, permanently priced out of the redemption shelf at par, permanently valuable as corridor and as partnership surface. The regional atlas is complete. The cross-cutting chapters, the technology overlay, the margins, the spread, assemble the screen next. Chapter 8, the technology overlay, every pool's second clock. The atlas so far has mapped pools against regulators. This chapter lays the second transparency over the map. The instant payment clock. Because the Brazil volume proved that technology drains pools faster than parliaments. And every open pool on the atlas carries a QR scheme at some stage of the same conquest. The mechanism, restated from the Brazil Almanac in one paragraph. State-built instant payments, free or near-free, account-to-account, QR-fronted, substitute for card transactions from the bottom of the market upward. Person-to-person first, micro-merchants next, everyday retail after, with credits financing function holding the last redoubt. Every substituted transaction removes its toll from the rewards pool, by engineering rather than law. Brazil's Pix ran the complete arc in 6 years. The caps that preceded it became footnotes. Now the clock reading, market by open market, because the stages differ, and the stages are the strategy. Furthest along, Indonesia, QRIS already owns the mass transactional tier. The card pool is an affluent island. And India, UPI complete at mass scale, with the RU pay credit countercurrent making it the world's only pool expanding across its own override. These two markets are past the substitution debate. The strategy there is island economics, plus payment moment earn. Never mass card earn. Mid-conquest, Thailand, prompt pay dominates person-to-person and penetrates small merchant QR deeply. Card economics hold the affluent urban and travel tiers. Vietnam, Viet QR spreading on the same curve, a few years behind. The reading, the card culture window in both markets is open, but finite. The affluent tier's card habits are formed and durable. The mass tier will never form them. A Miles platform entering now serves the formed tier while building the QR native earn rail for the rest. Enter during mid-conquest. The two-tier product is the design. Early stage, Singapore and Hong Kong, PayNow and the faster payment system own person-to-person and grow through merchant QR, but card share at retail remains high and premium card culture is entrenched. The home pools have the longest card clocks in the open world, plausibly 5 to 8 years of rich toll persistence. Taiwan and Japan, the mildest clocks on the atlas. The Gulf, barely started, cash is dying into cards there, the only region where the card pool is gaining share. The overlay's 3 strategic outputs, stated for the screen. 1. Clock position modifies tier ranking. Among the belt's green lights, earlier stage clocks mean longer card era runways. Later stage clocks mean the QR native product matters from day one. Thailand sits midway, both products sequenced. 2. The payment moment earn rail is the universal hedge. The Brazil Almanac's product lesson, merchant-funded rewards attached to the instant payment moment, is the design that survives every clock on this map. And HeyMax's no custody, bank-linked architecture is closer to it than any card-era incumbents. The Atlas's practical instruction: build the pay now moment, earn capability once, in Singapore, where the coalition's merchant relationships fund it. It becomes the template for every QRIS, Prompt Hey, and Viet QR market after. The one product that converts the technology threat into the entry mechanism for the mass tiers cards never reached. 3. The overlay explains the convergence wave's asymmetry. Regulators cap hardest where QR alternatives are weakest, Europe, the Anglosphere, because with no state rail, the state caps the private one. And they cap lightest where the override is doing the work, Asia. Why cap what QRIS is already draining? The corollary for the open belt: its pools will likely die by clock rather than by cap. Gradually, tier by tier, from the bottom, which is a kinder death for a miles platform because the affluent flying tier that funds the game is the last tier the clock reaches. The map now carries both transparencies. Two variables remain before the screen: the margins that fund the mile, and the spread that makes it worth minting. Chapter 9, the second variable where the commissions are. Interchange builds the audience. Commissions fund the mile. This chapter maps variable 2, the affiliate and margin economics that actually mint max miles, across the Atlas, because a pool-rich market with thin commissions is a stage without a payroll. The invariant first, confirmed across every volume this series has written: travel pays everywhere. The 10 to 25% commission band on hotels, activities, and packages, the seam this series has measured from Singapore to Sao Paulo, is geographically universal, carried by global inventory platforms on regional contracts that span borders. The strategic consequence has anchored every corridor thesis in the series. Wherever HeyMax's members travel, the richest funding seam is already contracted. For the Atlas, every market's entry economics start from the travel seam. The screen's margin variable really asks about the second seam: domestic e-commerce and the bounty economy. The domestic e-commerce gradient mapped. The mature market band, Europe, America, Japan, 1 to 5% gross commissions, compressed by platform consolidation and decades of affiliate optimization. Fundable but thin. The home cluster band, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, 2 to 8% by category, the healthy middle that funds the current floor. And the growth belt band, Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, India, the richest and most volatile. Young e-commerce ecosystems pay aggressive commissions and customer acquisition bounties that mature markets stopped paying years ago, because the platform wars still rage there. The Atlas's margin finding mirrors its pool finding. The Uncapped Belt is also the rich commission belt, for the same underlying reason: market youth. The bounty economy, the margin variable's second component, tracks the pool directly. Issuer card acquisition payouts, Singapore's hundreds of dollars per approved card, Japan's 5-figure point bounties, India's fintech referral wars, Vietnam's greenfield first wallet fights. These exist exactly where Interchange is rich enough to make cardholder acquisition valuable. Insurance and brokerage bounties follow financialization depth instead, rich in Japan, India, Brazil. Present everywhere at the affluent tier. 2 Atlas-level findings close the variable. First, the commission pool is cap-immune, but not clock-immune. Regulation never touches affiliate margins. The EU's caps left Europe's cashback and portal economies intact. The structural proof of HeyMax's cap resilience, but the QR clock touches them indirectly. Instant payment ecosystems grow super app commerce, whose closed loops internalize the commissions the open web once paid out. The margin variable's long-term geography follows the same conveyor as everything else. One more argument for the belt's window being a window. Second, the margin variable never decides alone, but it sets the earn rate ceiling that decides competitiveness. The screen's practical use: estimate the sustainable miles per dollar a market's blended commissions can fund and compare it against the incumbent cashback baseline. Where the funded mile rate's perceived value beats the cashback rate's face value, Singapore's mile per dollar against 2 to 4% cashback, resolved by the spread, the game works. where commissions fund only a mile rate whose perceived value trails cash, thin margin Korea, hyper-competitive Brazil, cashback wins mechanically. Whatever the culture wants. The Belt's rich commissions are what make its green lights green. Thailand's and Vietnam's blended margins fund mile rates that beat their cashback incumbents' face rates at any plausible spread. That is the quantitative heart of the shortlist chapters. Variable 2, mapped, travel universal. Domestic margins richest exactly where the pools are open. Bounties tracking the pool. The whole seem cap-proof and clock-shadowed. One variable remains: the psychology that turns funded miles into wanted ones. Chapter 10, the third variable, the spread, and where miles beat cash. The last variable is the one no regulator sets and no network publishes: the psychological spread, the gap between what a mile costs to mint and what it is worth in the member's mind. This chapter maps where that spread runs positive, because it is the variable that finally separates miles markets from cashback markets. And 15 volumes have given this series an unusual dataset for it. The spread's anatomy from the series evidence. A mile's perceived value premium requires 3 cultural inputs: an aspirational aviation object, carriers people dream about, premium cabins, the trip that justifies a year of collecting; a points literacy that prices miles above their cash equivalent, the arithmetic communities that teach populations miles outvalue rebates; and the absence of spread killers. No cash bid collapsing miles into currency, Brazil's resale market. No cultural cash primacy, Korea's one-pegged psyche. No closed-loop substitution, China's ecosystems. Map the positive spread world tier by tier. Deep positive: Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan. The home cluster where miles command their maximum premium, and this series has measured the machinery for 4 volumes. Positive and forming: Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, India, and Indonesia's affluent tier. Aviation aspiration cultures in full growth. The region's outbound boom. The premium carrier rebuilds. The young enthusiast media. Points literacy spreading along the same curve Singapore ran 15 years ago, and no spread killers established. This is the Atlas's crucial cultural finding. The Uncapped Belt spread is not merely positive. It is compounding because the cultures are at the stage where miles literacy grows fastest. Positive but captured. The Gulf, where the aspiration is supreme but the spread is monetized by the bank's co-brands at premium prices. And the United States, maximal literacy, fully priced. Neutral to negative, Europe and the post-cap Anglosphere, where the literacy persists in the Amex niche and decays outside it. Brazil, the cash bid. Korea, measured and buried. China, closed loops. Now the chapter's analytical payload. The spread is the variable that answers the Commission's exact question: where does miles versus cashback work? Because cashback's appeal is universal and mechanical, cash is cash everywhere. While miles win only where the spread's premium exceeds cashback's simplicity discount. The series head-to-head evidence. Singapore, HeyMax versus Shopback, miles carved the optimizer tier and grew. Korea, cashback's total victory, there was no spread to fight with. Brazil, the spread exists but is arbitraged rather than aspired to, the Malero sells the mile, functionally cashback with extra steps. Japan, the spread is the entire national game. The pattern: miles beat cashback where flying is aspirational, literacy is growing and no cash bid exists. And they lose everywhere else, regardless of funding. One dynamic completes the variable, because it moves. Spreads are built and platforms participate in building them. Singapore's spread was not natural law. It was constructed over 2 decades by carrier marketing, community media, and the card economy. And HeyMax itself has thickened it, the published benchmarks, the fly-anywhere floor. The Belt's forming spreads are therefore partly endogenous to entry. A platform arriving in Thailand or Vietnam with published mile values, community cultivation, and aspirational redemption stories does not just harvest the spread. It accelerates the culture that widens it. Exactly as the American media machine built the 2.2-cent built point. First movers in forming spread markets compound their own variable. Late movers pay the formed price. One more reason the belt's window language is temporal, not rhetorical. The 3 variables are mapped. The screen assembles them next. Every country, 1 table, 4 tiers. Chapter 11. The screen, every pool, 4 tiers. The assembly chapter. Pool, margin, spread, then the corridor gate. Every market this volume has mapped, screened into 4 tiers. The table first, then the reasoning where it is not already on record. Tier 1. Play. Open pools, fundable margins, positive informing spreads, live corridors, and the clustering fact existing HeyMax assets. Thailand, the flagship. Vietnam, the growth case treaty already held. Indonesia, the open gate treaty already held. The Philippines, the standing verdict from Volume 3, pool upgraded, its preposition clause activated by the Atlas's window logic, its Mabuhay treaty held. 4 markets. 4 green screens. 3 treaties and 1 open gate already in hand. Tier 2, hold, each with its named trigger. India passes every variable, fails the capacity test, the highest potential deferral on the map. Trigger, the Ru-Pay UP credit trajectory readable, roughly 2 years. The Gulf, partnership first per the UAE volume, pool confirmed. Triggers, a lattice-shaped counterparty or Saudi's horizon maturing. Taiwan, corridor first per its volume. Live and unchanged. Malaysia, capped pool, intact culture. Trigger, corridor economics justifying a low-cost extension. Japan, the entry in progress. The Atlas confirms its pool and its fuse. The December gate question belongs to its own volume. Tier 3, closed by pool or by completion. The European Union and United Kingdom, the Great Cap, a decade settled. The Amex niche miles culture survives, but offers an entrant no incubator. Australia, reclassified this volume. The July 2026 cap moves it from conditional to closed with bookmark. The velocity thesis survives only as a post-cap review item. New Zealand, capped, formatted European. No bookmark, the market never had the scale to earn one. Canada, the middle market, its 1 aeroplane negotiation already prescribed. The pool data adds nothing the volume didn't. Korea, destroyed pool, buried with honors. China, states at rates, closed loops. No game for anyone. The United States, completed and besieged. The mirror volume stands. The Atlas merely notes, if the siege ever fires, the world's biggest pool joins the convergence wave, and the mirror's lean tier inherits. Tier 4, orthogonal. Brazil and Latin America entire. The null corridor named in its own volume. The Atlas adds only that Latin America's pools, Mexico's uncapped tolls, the region's rich merchant rates are academically interesting and commercially unreachable. Real pools, on the wrong planet. Africa and Central Asia, the corridor first shortcut applies. Screened out at the gate without full audits. With 1 almanac note, Africa's mobile money economies are running their own technology override experiments worth an eventual reading. The screen's meta-findings, 3, for the verdict to carry. First, Tier 1 is a neighborhood, not a scatter. All 4 plays sit within 5 flight hours of Singapore, on dense existing corridors, sharing the QR conveyor timeline and the forming spread stage. The Atlas's answer to where can HeyMax play is, structurally, next door. The Uncapped Belt is Southeast Asia, and HeyMax is its native platform. Second, the treaty rack anticipated the screen. Vietnam Airlines, Garuda, Philippine Airlines, AirAsia, signed across the roster expansions this series documented. Tier 1's redemption infrastructure largely exists. The screen's plays are activations, not entries. Gates, floors, and localization atop treaties already held. Whether by design or instinct, the company's airline shelf was built for exactly the map this volume drew. Third, the windows are dated. Australia's cap, New Zealand's the American siege, Japan's fuse, the belt's QR clocks. The Atlas is a photograph of a closing aperture. 5 years ago, Tier 1 would have held 8 markets. 5 years hence, it may hold 2. The screen's practical output is therefore not just a list, it is a sequence. And the sequence's first 3 names get the shortlist treatment next. Chapter 12, Shortlist 1, Thailand. The screen's flagship, given the shortlist treatment, the variables in Thai detail, the entry shape, and the honest obstacles. The pool, in detail. Thailand caps nothing on consumer credit interchange. Merchant discount rates run an estimated 1.6 to 2.5% across the card-accepting economy, and the Bank of Thailand's regulatory attention has gone to PromptPay's build-out rather than card tolls. No squeeze campaign, no cap consultation. The belt's calmest regulatory weather. The card culture concentrates exactly where a miles platform needs it. Urban affluent Bangkok and the tourism economy, where premium cards, airport lounges, and bank airline co-brands are established habits. The pool's clock. PromptPay owns person-to-person payments and penetrates small merchant QR deeply. Mid-conquest. Leaving the affluent card tier's runway at an estimated 5+ years of rich tolls. The margin. Thai e-commerce pays growth belt commissions, and the travel seam is exceptional even by regional standards because Thailand is both a source and a destination market. Thai outbound books through the same global inventory HeyMax carries, and inbound Thailand is the region's tourism heavyweight, making destination earn and corridor economics bidirectional. The bounty economy runs. Thai banks fight for premium cardholders with acquisition budgets in the regional pattern. The spread. Thailand's aviation aspiration culture is the belt's deepest. Thai Airways' post-restructuring rebuild has re-energized Royal Orchid Plus, a cash for Miles alumnus, so the commercial contact exists. AirAsia's Thai operation carries the budget tier. And the Thai Points community, the Facebook group and blog ecosystem pricing Miles in Satong, is Singapore's community, 15 years younger, growing on the same curve. No spread killers, no resale market, no cash primacy, no closed-loop capture. The corridor. Bangkok is Singapore's densest short-haul twin. The Singapore-Bangkok pair runs among the world's busiest international routes, and Hong Kong's Thai traffic follows. HeyMax's members already fly Thailand constantly. The destination earn thread and travel floor inventory monetized today. And a Thai member base would redeem across the existing treaty rack. JAL, Cathay, EVA, and the tail all serve Bangkok densely. The entry shape assembled from the series playbooks. The Japan volume's dressed launch standard applies at Thai scale. A Thai gate, Thai localization, bot display, a floor built from the affiliate network's Travel First, with 2 Thai-specific moves. The Royal Orchid Plus Treaty, re-signed as a direct partner, the sell decision test reads well, a rebuilding program monetizing internationally, giving the entry its flag carrier anchor. At wholesale prices the funding ceiling can plausibly meet. The negotiation prices it. And the PromptPay moment rail, the universal hedge built for Thailand's mid-conquest clock. Merchant-funded earn at the QR moment, for the mass tier the card floor misses. Sequence, corridor productization now, costless. The Royal Orchid plus conversation this cycle. The gate when the Japan launches lessons are absorbed. The obstacles honestly. The Thai regulatory perimeter, foreign platform licensing, data compliance, is navigable but real work. The incumbent surface, Thai banks own Miles co-brands, the super app gravity of the grab and line ecosystems, is the familiar competition this series prices everywhere. Though note, no Thai incumbent runs a transferable multi-program currency. The coalition seat is open, and the capacity question is the standing one. Thailand is the right next market, but next means after Japan's December question resolves, not alongside it. The Thailand entry screened, every variable green, the anchor re-signable, the corridor already monetizing, the coalition seat open. On the Atlas's evidence, the strongest untouched market on HeyMax's map, and the natural first activation of the belt. Chapter 13. Shortlists 2 and 3, Vietnam and Indonesia. The belt's remaining green lights screened in shortlist form, 1 growth case, 1 activation case, and the sequencing logic between them. Vietnam, the growth case. The pool, uncapped, merchant rates estimated 1.8 to 2.5% on a card base that is the Atlas's youngest and fastest compounding. Vietnam's Bangtan carded population grows by millions annually. And greenfield card markets pay the map's richest acquisition bounties because every issuer is fighting for first wallet position. The clock, Viet QR spreads on the regional curve, a few years behind PromptPay, early mid-conquest. The belt's longest card runway. The margin, Shopian TikTok commerce native affiliate economics at the rich end of the band. The travel seemed dense. Vietnam is both a boom destination and a fast-growing source market. The spread, forming vigorously. Vietnam Airlines Lotus Miles anchors a growing premium culture. Vietjet's Skyjoy builds the budget tier. Outbound aspiration compounds with income growth, and the enthusiast community is embryonic, the earliest stage spread on the shortlist, which the endogeneity logic reads as opportunity. The first credible platform participates in forming Vietnamese miles culture, rather than renting it formed. The corridor, dense and growing, with the decisive asset already held. Lotus Miles is a treaty partner, signed in the roster expansion, making Vietnam the only Tier 1 market where the flag carrier anchor pre-exists the entry question. The entry shape, the Thailand template, shifted younger. Gate, localization, travel first floor, bounty heavy earn, the Greenfield card war is the funding, Skyjoy as the second airline conversation, and the QR rail built early against the young clock. The honest obstacles, Vietnam's foreign platform and payments rules are the belt's most intricate. Per-member economics today are a fraction of Thailand's, the growth case is a duration bet, and the same capacity queue. Indonesia, the activation case, and the series' longest-standing anomaly resolved into strategy. The fact, once more, HeyMax's sign-up gate has included Indonesia since inception. It is the one market on Earth already open and never activated. No localization, no floor, no marketing, no Indonesian artifact in 3 years of audits. The screen explains both why the gate was harmless and why it is now interesting. The pool, split on the two markets reading. A narrow, rich card tier, uncapped, 2+% estimated rates, Jakarta affluent, exactly the demographic flying Garuda. And Garuda Miles is a treaty partner already. Atop the QRIS mass economy, regulated QR rates, the belt's most complete QR conquest. The margin, rich in the affluent tiers e-commerce and travel. The mass tier funds only QR moment merchant deals. The spread, positive and formed at the affluent tier, Indonesian premium travelers are a fixture of the region's lounges. Absent below it. The corridor, enormous. Singapore to Jakarta and Bali rank among the world's densest pairs. Indonesian affluents treat Singapore as a second city, and the reverse flow, Bali above all, makes destination earn bidirectional. The Indonesian entry shape is therefore unique on the map. An island strategy, deliberately narrow, activate the open gate for the Jakarta-Bali affluent tier only, Bahasa localization, Rupiah display, a curated travel and premium floor, anchor on the held Garuda Treaty, market through the corridor's existing traffic. And treat the QRIS mass market as a Phase 2 QR rail question, not a launch obligation. The activation is the cheapest market opening available to the company. The gate exists, the treaty exists, the corridor exists, and its honest scale is the islands, hundreds of thousands of addressable optimizers, not the archipelago's masses. The sequencing logic across the shortlist, closing the chapter. Thailand first, deepest pool and spread, strongest standalone case. Indonesia second, cheapest activation, corridor funded. Vietnam third, longest runway, richest eventual prize, most regulatory work. All three behind Japan's resolution. All three inside the window the Atlas keeps dating. 3 markets. 3 shapes, an entry, an activation, a growth bet, and everyone anchored on a treaty the company already holds. Chapter 14, the Cap-Market Playbook and What Not to Do. Before the verdict, the chapter The Capped World earns. What a merchant-funded miles platform can do where interchange is dead. What it should refuse. And the formal warnings the Atlas issues to the series' own theses. The Cap-Market Playbook honestly bounded. Chapter 1 established the nuance. HeyMax's funding survives caps, commissions are cap-immune, but the demographic incubator dies. What survives for a platform in a capped market on Europe's decade of evidence? The MX-adjacent niche, the surviving optimizer class, small but literate. The annual fee co-brand tier, aviation loyalty funded by member fees. And the merchant-funded layer, portals and coalitions running on the same commissions HeyMax uses. The theoretical cap-market play is therefore real, but narrow. A merchant-funded transferable currency serving the surviving niche, positioned against fee-funded co-brands rather than against dead card earn. The contrarian version even argues that caps help a merchant-funded entrant. The incumbents' interchange subsidy dies. The commissions persist. The field levels. Why the playbook stays filed rather than executed in one paragraph. Niches don't fund entries. Europe's surviving optimizer class is real and small, spread across 24 countries, served by entrenched Amex and Davio structures, reachable only through full entry stacks priced for mass markets. The cap market play fails not on funding, but on demographics per entry dollar. The audience a cap leaves behind is 1/5 the size, at full acquisition cost. The playbook's proper use is defensive and future-facing. It is the design HeyMax's home markets will need when their own pools meet the conveyor. And the reason the partnership's volumes partner-funded coalition is the correct pre-adaptation. Build it at home where the demographic still compounds. Never export it to where the demographic already died. Now the prohibitions, the Atlas's own 5. Do not enter Australia on the old thesis. The formal warning to the series' own record. The Australia volumes velocity conditional re-entry predates the July 2026 cap. Executing it now would mean entering a market at the exact moment its rewards culture begins the generational thinning. The revision, the velocity conversation remains valuable as a treaty, velocity serves the corridor and the redemption shelf regardless. But the market entry waits for the 12-month post-cap review, and probably forever. Do not read Uncapped as unclaimed. The Gulf and the United States are the Atlas's proof that rich pools can be fully occupied. The pool variable is necessary, never sufficient. Every Tier 1 designation in this volume required all 4 variables, plus held assets. The screen, not the toll, is the method. Do not chase the EU diaspora. The capped world's tempting sub-niche, Asian expatriate communities in London and Europe, holding home market cards, flying home yearly, recycles the diaspora fallacy 3 volumes have now buried. The expatriate is a member on a long holiday, served by the existing app. The entries stack their geography would demand prices like Europe, and pays like a rounding error. Do not build QR rails ahead of the coalition. The payment moment earn capability is the right infrastructure, built once in Singapore, where the coalition's merchant relationships fund it. The failure mode is building it first in a belt market as an entry gimmick. QR earn without a coalition behind it is a rate war against super apps on their home rails. Sequence coalition, then rail, then belt. And do not let the Atlas become a schedule. 4 green lights invite a 4-market roadmap. The series' entire record, Australia's 10-week retreat, the 5-market promise that strained one company, argues the opposite discipline. The Atlas ranks. The payroll sequences, 1 activation at a time, each dressed to the Japan standard, each anchored on a held treaty. Each behind the one before it. The map is drawn, the plays are named, the warnings are filed, the verdict assembles the answer the Commission asked for. Chapter 15, Verdict: The Playable World. 16 chapters. The verdict, answering the commissioned question in the series' required form, the answer, the working, the falsifiers. The answer, in 1 paragraph. The miles-versus-cashback game works where 3 variables align: an open interchange pool to incubate the miles demographic, commission margins deep enough to fund the mile, and a positive psychological spread that prices miles above cash. Gated by a 4th, a corridor connecting the market to HeyMax's assets. Run that screen across the world's pools in August 2026, and the playable frontier is a tight, dated cluster. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, the Uncapped Belt, all within 5 flight hours of Singapore, all with forming spreads and rich margins, and all but one already holding a HeyMax airline treaty. With India as the great deferral, 4 passes, 1 capacity fail, a named 2-year trigger, the Gulf as partnership surface. And the home cluster, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan, confirmed as the best rewards geography left on Earth. Everything else is capped. Europe, the United Kingdom, Australia from July, New Zealand, Canada. Legislated, Korea, China. Besieged, the United States. Or orthogonal, Latin America, Africa. The Commission question's answer is, structurally, next door. HeyMax's Playable World is Southeast Asia plus its own home cluster. And the company's treaty rack, Vietnam Airlines, Garuda, Philippine Airlines, AirAsia, plus the North Asian anchors, was built, knowingly or not, for exactly this map. The working, compressed to its 3 load-bearing findings. The convergence wave. 4 Anglophone regulators adopted Europe's number inside 18 months, proving the series' interchange doctrine on schedule and shrinking the open world to Asia, the Gulf, and a besieged America. The atlas is a photograph of a closing aperture. Its top tier is a window, not a state of nature. The funding nuance. HeyMax's commission-funded model is cap-resilient. The European Union's intact portal economy is the proof, but demographic-dependent, because the pool builds the audience. Which is why the screen weighs pools even for a platform that never touches them. And why the belt's rich pools, rich margins, and forming spreads, co-located, make it the map's only true green zone. And the clock stack. Every open pool carries a QR conveyor. Brazil's completed arc. India's split regime frontier. The belt's mid-conquest schemes. The home cluster's early clocks. The conveyor converts the atlas's rankings into a sequence. Enter the belt while its card tiers are rich. Build the payment moment rail at home. And let the one design that survives every clock, merchant-funded, no custody, coalition-anchored, carry the company through the map's next decade. The falsifiers on the record. If Australia's post-cap rewards market does not thin on the European pattern within 3 years, the reclassification was too aggressive, and the velocity thesis reopens early. If any belt regulator opens a cap consultation, that market's window clause fires, and its tier drops. The annual regulatory check is the atlas's maintenance schedule. If India's Pay-UP credit experiment stalls, the deferral hardens. If it compounds, the 2-year trigger fires early. And if the belt's QR conquests reach the affluent card tiers materially faster than the 5-year runway this volume estimates, the sequence compresses. Activate faster, or not at all. And the atlas's gift to the series, closing the 16th book. The map explains the company. 15 volumes asked, market by market, whether HeyMax should be somewhere. The atlas shows why the answers fell as they did. The yesies cluster where the 3 variables align, the no's where anyone fails. And the company's entire viable world is the neighborhood it was born in. At the moment that neighborhood happens to hold the last rich pools, the fastest forming spreads, and the deepest corridors on the planet. The strategy this series has spent 16 volumes deriving reduces on the completed map to 1 sentence. HeyMax's fortune is that the best place on Earth to play its game is home. And the discipline the atlas demands is to finish winning the neighborhood, while the window that made it possible stays open. Research date, August 2026. Regulatory numbers from the regulator's own documents. Merchant rates in unregulated markets labeled as estimates, not affiliated with any company named. Nothing in this volume is financial advice.